right, we'll take a break. I don't. Fantastic.
Sorry.
We'll be back with Jim Carrey and see what he's painting. That's Jim Carrey's artwork on our floor that will be there forever now.
Forever and ever.
All right. And
Yep.
So it is the characters. It's Dumb and Dumber 2.
That's right.
Yeah.
Me and Jeff.
Very.
It's just another shameless plug.
That will be there forever. I don't know why more people haven't thought of that when they come on the show.
Jim Carrey drew a symbol on live television, and a talk show host's face went pale. He named names. He called out an entire system, right there in front of a studio audience, and then his phone rang mid-sentence and everything just stopped.
Oh, hold on a second. You know what they're trying to do? Who? This thing is buzzing. Hold on. They're trying to turn us into, consumer drones of some sort. Hold on, I just got to get this.
And yeah.
Yeah, listen, I'm in the middle of blowing the lid off some...
You're about to watch those moments back to back with the real footage. By the end, you'll understand why one actress can't stop watching and why people are still talking about that phone call years later. 2 things you need to know before we get into it. The Epstein files are real, they're public, and they name people who were once completely untouchable. Reporters and everyday people have gone through them line by line. For over a decade, Jim Carrey was written off as unhinged. He talked about the Illuminati, sitcoms as distraction, secret rituals in the woods. Everyone laughed and moved on, treating it like a celebrity meltdown. But some of those so-called crazy comments now line up almost perfectly with what those files actually show. This isn't about tearing down one person. It's about a pattern, one that runs through Oprah, through Naomi Campbell, and through the man who kept pointing at it long before anyone wanted to look. Watch how often the timing repeats itself, because once you see it, it's very hard to unsee. It all started on live television, with a studio audience that had no idea what they were about to witness. The year was 2014. Jim Carrey was a guest on Jimmy Kimmel Live, sitting right across from the host with cameras rolling and the whole country watching. Out of nowhere, he drew a symbol in the air and on his hand, calling it the all-mocking tongue.
Is that a gang sign? Have you,
Oh, like you don't know what it is. It is the secret symbol of the Illuminati, and you're a part of it, and it is the all-mocking tongue.
And he didn't stop there. He went on to say that talk show hosts, sitcom actors, and TV personalities exist to keep people laughing so hard they stop asking real questions. He even joked about powerful people gathering in the woods to make major decisions, all while grinning like he was telling the best joke of his life. Here's where it gets interesting. People who were actually in that studio audience that night said the room went completely silent. No laughing, no applause. The laughter you hear in the clip, reportedly added in during editing after the fact. Someone wanted that moment filed under comedy, even though the room itself didn't treat it that way. That single choice says everything about how quickly the industry moved to bury what he was actually saying. Then, right when Carrey was pushing hardest, naming things nobody in that business ever says out loud publicly, his phone rang. On camera, in front of everyone. He picked it up, and just like that, the conversation was over. No more Illuminati talk, no more of any of it. Was it a real call? A warning delivered live on air? Nobody knows for certain. But ask yourself this: why does a single phone call shut down a conversation that fast, at exactly that moment?
what happened?
I'm sorry, Jimmy. I was temporarily interrupted by my iPhone 6 Plus.
Whatever was on the other end of that call, it worked. The subject never came back up. Carrey moved on like nothing happened, and the curtain dropped right back down, exactly the way it always does. Then there's the Ellen DeGeneres show clip that a lot of people can't stop talking about. Jim Carrey sketches something on the studio floor, and it looks unmistakably like a 666. Watch Ellen's face in that moment. Her polished TV composure just cracks. At the time, everyone wrote it off as another one of Jim's wild bits. Nobody questioned it. But line that clip up against everything that surfaced later, and it starts reading less like a joke and more like something deliberately slipped past the cameras. Jim Carrey himself once said, "The people inside the industry know exactly what is going on. They just choose to stay quiet about it day after day." That quote lands differently now, because the Epstein files gave us a case study in exactly that kind of silence. Take Naomi Campbell. In one widely circulated clip, she flatly denies any real connection to Epstein, sounding almost offended by the question. But her name reportedly appears in those files over 300 times, tied to flight records on his private jet.
Naomi knows a lot of these millionaire and billionaire guys, so she connects you to them. She will connect you. Oh, darling, so-and-so has the hotel, the Fontainebleau in Miami. I'll easily connect you. So they connect you, and then that's it. That's how it starts.
And what
It's
do you
kind
think
of
she
like-
gets out of it?
Well, she gets money. When you bring models or people that can easily be manipulated, you get funded. How does she own an island being a supermodel?
I know she owns an island.
Yeah, she owns an island.
The direct character assassination. I've always said that I'm not a saint, that I am a work in progress, but I will not be held hostage by my past. What he's done is indefensible. And when I heard of what he'd done, it sickened me to my stomach, just like everybody else. Because I've had my fair share of sexual predators, and thank God that I had good people around me that protected me from this.
That's a wide gap between what someone says publicly and what the paperwork actually shows. And that gap, it keeps showing up. Deny publicly, get exposed later. It's the same cycle, playing out with different names, and you're about to see it repeat again.
I mean, right now I stand with the victims. They're scarred for life. I've rubbed shoulders with hundreds of thousands of people. The frightening conclusion here is that if the negative action of your neighbor, colleague, or even an associate can somehow make you guilty too, simply by association, then we indeed live in very worrying times. This affects us all. It is wrong, it's unfair, and it must be stopped.
Now let's get to the name that really makes people stop scrolling. Oprah Winfrey. She spent decades crafting an image of generosity and moral authority. Her Leadership Academy for Girls in South Africa was supposed to be her legacy, the project she spoke about with the most pride.
Like you're beyond a culture vulture. You're beyond that. Has anyone even asked her to explain what happened to all of those girls that went missing in that school in Africa? Like she gets away with a lot. Meanwhile, everyone's feeling sorry for her as her weight fluctuates up and down, and she convinces people to buy medication that gives them constant diarrhea.
Then a matron at that very school was accused of physically and sexually abusing the students.
6 students at Oprah Winfrey School for Girls in South Africa is resuming. Prosecutors say former dorm matron Tina Virginia Makopo tried to kiss and fondle the girls. She's also accused of kicking and hitting some of them. Makopo pleaded innocent to 14 charges of indecent assault, and criminal injury in South Africa. Meanwhile, in Philadelphia, the ex-headmistress of the $40 million school is suing Winfrey for defamation. The suit claims someone would conclude from Winfrey's comments that the school employee knew of the alleged abuse and was actively involved in covering it up.
Oprah only addressed it publicly after the story had already blown up.
I was, needless to say, devastated and really shaken to my core. Spoke to all the girls personally, and I encouraged all of them, any of them who had actually been harmed, to please come forward.
That timing didn't sit right with a lot of people, and the matron was never imprisoned.
But to believe that you can take them as property and them and sell them, and it's something from the dark ages. It is just so horrific, but it's not isolated to Nigeria. First time I was in Cambodia, it was the first time I realized, I think we all have that moment in our lives where we kind of really question how much we know and our education and what we've been told.
It doesn't stop there. Oprah personally endorsed a faith healer named John of God to her massive global audience. He was later arrested on trafficking charges, and his name has since appeared inside the Epstein files themselves.
Yes, let's talk about John of God. This man can only be compared to a cult leader, and Oprah and him were very, very pally at one point. Now, I will say, this was before the information that I'm about to tell you came to light, so obviously Oprah didn't know. So this man, John of God, is a Brazilian man that is claims he's a self-proclaimed spiritual healer, psychic medium. You get the gist. So more than 200 women have spoke out and accused this man of abusive behavior at his healing center. Now, Oprah done an episode on him back in 2010, and she actually went over to Brazil and met him, etc. And this aired in 2010, as I said, but it's now been wiped off YouTube completely.
Then there's Peter Nygard, another guest from her platform, later caught on camera allegedly bribing a woman over her unborn child. None of this alone proves anything. Courts decide guilt, not a YouTube video. But when you line up the school scandal, the John of God endorsement, and the Nygard connection, one question keeps surfacing. How could she not have known? The woman who built her entire career on speaking up for others has gone noticeably quiet since those files dropped, and that silence says just as much as any interview would. Jim Carrey once said, "The smiles in this industry are rehearsed and the silence is deliberate." Right now, Oprah is giving us both simultaneously. Here's the part people seem to forget, or maybe were made to forget. Back in 2009, a young model named Gabrielle Rico Guarantano came forward with a disturbing story about a party she attended and what happened to her there. At the time, most people dismissed her as unstable and moved on. Then she was arrested, then she disappeared entirely, and nobody has found her since.
August of 2009, a 21-year-old woman would burst onto the streets of Monterrey, Mexico, emerging from one of those big old elite hotels. She was screaming about people had killed other people, they were eating each other, and it was just a horror show. This woman would be identified as Gabriela Rico Jimenez. At the time, everyone just thought she was having some sort of episode. So police were called, they grabbed her, and they had taken her off to a psychiatric hospital for treatment. And that was the last time anybody had ever seen her.
The world wasn't ready to believe her back then. The Epstein files hadn't dropped yet. But now? The dots don't seem far-fetched at all. She spoke up, and she vanished.
I wanted my freedom. Monterrey freed me, but it cost me a lot of work. I was in Mexico City for a year and 4 months. All of this began in mid-2001. I barely remember. They were young and powerful, and they killed them. I've been knocking on doors. What I wanted was my freedom. I want my freedom. The people where you come from were crazy. They killed a lot of people. Death to that kind of human, go away. They ate humans. Disgusting. They ate humans. I wasn't aware of anything. Of the murders, yes, but they ate humans. Humans, they smell like human flesh. Conspiracy theories have abounded ever since she disappeared. But it's looking more and more like the elites of that area made her disappear. With everything that's been coming out of the Epstein files,
Jim Carrey spoke up, and his phone started ringing. Two very different outcomes, possibly driven by the same machine sitting behind both of them. The only real difference may have been the size of the platform each of them was standing on when they chose to tell the truth. That's worth sitting with before we get into the final part. There's one more moment that doesn't get talked about enough. Barbara Marx Hubbard, a respected author and public speaker, the kind of figure the establishment loves to spotlight as visionary and forward-thinking, was mid-sentence during a speech about human evolution when she casually said the words, "The babies we eat." Just dropped it in, like it fit naturally.
We are the first species on the face of this earth to be aware of evolution, to be aware that we are affecting our own evolution by everything that we do. The babies we eat, the food we eat, the wars we fight, the babies we eat.
When's the last time anyone accidentally said something like that in front of a live audience? People rush to call it a slip of the tongue. Maybe, but these moments don't tend to travel alone. They pile up, one after another, sitting alongside strange symbols, abrupt phone calls, and conversations that cut off right before they go anywhere real. Year after year, what Jim Carrey said on that Kimmel stage gets a little harder to dismiss. The industry knows exactly what it's doing. Keep people laughing, keep them distracted, keep their eyes pointed in the wrong direction. Which brings us back to Carrey one last time, because his story doesn't end here. Watch his Golden Globe speech again with fresh eyes. He's standing in front of the very people who run Hollywood, telling them to their faces that fame and awards don't deliver what they promise.
I dream about being 3-time Golden Globe winning actor Jim Carrey. Because then I would be enough. It would finally be true. And I could stop this terrible search for what I know ultimately won't fulfill me.
Then there's the red carpet moment where he calls the whole event meaningless, straight into the cameras, while reporters smile and nod like nothing unusual is happening.
To Jim Carrey. Wait, tell me, is it true you're wandering the streets? You need a date to the party? What's up?
No. I'm doing just fine. I just, there's no meaning to any of this. So I wanted to find the most meaningless thing that I could come to and join, and here I am.
They're
I
celebrating.
mean, you got to admit it's completely meaningless.
Well, they say they're celebrating icons inside.
Celebrating
Do you believe
icons.
in icons?
Boy, that is just the absolute lowest aiming, possibility that we could come up with. It's like icons. Do you believe in icons? I don't believe in personalities. I don't believe that you exist, but there is a wonderful fragrance in the air.
You don't believe certain icons have the power to make change, to think differently, to be bold, to inspire others? Artistry? You're one of them.
On the good foot. Ha! Yeah. You shut it down now.
Everyone laughed nervously and assumed he'd completely lost it. But here's what separates Carrey from almost everyone else who ever stood in that spotlight. The things he warned about kept showing up later in real documents and real cases. He wasn't rambling. He wasn't lost. He was just saying it out loud before the world was ready to receive it. Some people online have noted that the Jim Carrey of today feels almost like a different person from the one we watched years ago. Whatever explains that shift, one thing isn't up for debate. The version of him who spoke on those stages left something behind on camera that still speaks for itself, clip after clip, warning after warning. So where do you land on this? Was Jim Carrey years ahead of the curve? Or was he reading too far into things? Drop your honest take in the comments, because this is exactly the kind of conversation that deserves to happen out loud, especially now that more pieces of the picture are finally snapping into place. If you want more deep dives like this one, subscribe to Glossip. We're always first with the stories that actually matter. See you in the next one.